Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We will start with Mangalacharan prayers. I will share the screen. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenbandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय Okay. Is the sound okay? Okay, thanks. Okay. So, a very quick summary of where we are right now. So, we are in chapter 3. Okay, before that, I just wanted to mention that the month of Kartik has started. This is an extremely auspicious month, and I want to share my greetings, my best wishes, uh, and prayers with everyone for this month of Kartik. Every day, please offer uh, a ghee lamp, a deepak to the Lord. This month is full of festivals like Deepavali, Govardhan Puja, and so on. And a very sweet pastime of the Lord, which is known as Damodar Leela, where the Lord gets tied to a mortar, also occurred on this day or in this month on the day of Deepavali. So please celebrate this month with a lot of bhakti. Any bhakti done in this month has special potential, has special spiritual potency. We also sing a prayer known as Damodara Ashtakam in this month. So while offering the ghee lamp, you can sing this prayer as well. Namami Shwaram Satchidananda Rupam. You can search for it on Google using these lyrics Namamishwaram Satchidananda Rupam, or you can search for Damodara Ashtakam. Also this month, many devotees go home to share the story and prayers, this Damodara Ashtakam prayers of Lord Krishna. So you can avail of that as well. Invite your friends and introduce them to Krishna Bhakti. So all this is possible during this month. And please make use of this wonderful month to increase your bhakti as well. The most important thing is to increase your own bhakti and then share it with others as well. But please remember that both should happen. Many people just do one of them. That's not ideal. Definitely sharing with others without implementing it on yourself is not recommended. Even in a very basic, materially oriented company, you will never be a good salesman without using the product you are selling. If you are selling a soap, it is expected you need to use the soap. If you are selling a car, you need to be expected to be driving the same car. I have heard, I don't know, some of you can confirm, that every employee in Honda company should only drive Honda car. The CEO of Honda, even though he can afford a Mercedes or whatever, Rolls-Royce, drives a Honda car. You cannot be a part of that company and drive any other car. Similarly, we are also those who are sharing the message of Bhagavad Gita. I don't want to mean it in a bad way, but they are salesmen of Sri Krishna. Sales doesn't mean sales has a bad connotation that you are trying to cheat someone, you're trying to sell a substandard product. The difference is, in this case, the product is top class and the price is one's interest, time, and commitment. No money is involved, but time, and time is more important than money, of course. Time, commitment, and interest. So we are all salesmen of Sri Krishna. There is nothing wrong in that. It's a glorious job. All previous acharyas have been salesmen as well. But they have,
आपको पसंद नहीं आएगी
मैं पी रहा हूँ
ये नेचुरल क्योर है
but they have been expert and vehement users of the product, which means that they have implemented the Bhagavad Gita, or at least sincerely are implementing the Bhagavad Gita in their lives. So your personal bhakti is extremely important. There cannot be any negotiation. It's a non-negotiable aspect. So please do that and then share with others. But you do not need to become perfect. You can be sincerely implementing it in your life, in the process of implementing, and then share. You do not have to become completely perfected. Otherwise, if that was the case, then I should stop doing the class, because I am trying to implement it, hopefully sincerely, but nowhere close to being perfect. And so is the case with many of those who share Bhagavad Gita with, or these spiritual teachings with others. Okay. So another thing, yes, I just wanted to also acknowledge that this class that I am doing today is from a very special place, and it is called Karoli in Rajasthan. So this is a small village in Rajasthan, but of special significance for all Vaishnavas, because a very important deity of Lord Shri Krishna, known as Shri Madan Mohan Ji, is present here in this city of Karoli. So there are three principal deities of Lord Shri Krishna, which are 5,000 years old, which were made by the great grandson of Shri Krishna, whose name was Vajranabh. And they were originally in Vrindavan. But during the invasion of Aurangzeb, and he was determined to destroy all the deities in Vrindavan, these three principal deities, which were 5,000 years old, were moved to Rajasthan under the protection of the Rajputs, because they could not capture or gain victory over the Rajputs. So these three deities are Shri Govind Dev Ji, Shri Gopinath Ji, and Shri Madan Mohan Ji. Two of them are in Jaipur, and one of them is about 150 kilometers away from Jaipur, called Karoli, a place called Karoli. Originally, they were all in Jaipur, but one of the princess of the king of Jaipur got married to the prince of Karoli, and she was very attached to Madan Mohan Ji. So she took Madan Mohan Ji deity with her to her place where she got married, and that was Karoli. And since then, these deities are in Karoli, the deity of Sri Madan Mohan Ji. So it's very important, if possible in your life, please get darshan of all these three deities. Two of them are in Jaipur and one in Karoli. Okay, so then we will resume Bhagavad Gita now. So far in chapter 3, we are studying Karma Yoga, and there is Kama Karma Yoga. We discussed this, where one has an interest in the results. And the more advanced level is Nishkama Karma Yoga, where one has zero interest in the results. So, in the next several verses, this is where we stopped last time. Lord Krishna is discussing the importance of setting an example by the advanced people for the beginner people. So the ones who are advanced in Karma Yoga have a certain responsibility, not just to perform Karma Yoga. So this is the aspect of practical implementation in one's life, and keeping in mind the progress of others, the ones who are beginning, where you had been in the past. And it is an act of compassion and kindness that you pay it forward. Somebody showed the path to you, you show the path for others. And that is exactly what is being mentioned here, that one should set, and those who have made good progress should set an example for others. And setting an example is very important. One is carrying a very important responsibility on their shoulders. And Lord Krishna also says that one needs to constantly set a good example. People are looking for one mistake that an advanced person does, and that will get magnified, and that's the only thing that will be discussed. If one mistake is made by the ideal person, by an acharya or somebody you look up to, you forget all the 99,000 great things they have done, all the sacrifices they have made, everything, and one just remembers that one thing. And that's because people are very, very good at picking up faults. So it's a great responsibility to set an example. So one has to be very careful and committed in that pursuit. Now we will start. This is where we start today's discussion. So, how to set an example? And as we all know, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, most people are materialistic. So, the majority, and when I say majority, I don't mean 51%. I mean more like 99%. Majority are materialistic. So what to do about the materialistic people? When I say materialistic, it's not meant in a bad way. It just means that their priorities are all about the material world. It's all about, it's all about my body, my family, my property, my progress, and like that. Or not just mine, but those who are near and dear to me. And that may also not just mean my family, it could be even people in my company, people in my country, nationalism, etc., etc. But one should understand all that is even at a material level. But most people within that 99%, 99% are only concerned about their own self and their very close family, just 3-4 people. And that is what is the 99%.
Krishna, Babu, we cannot hear you. I think we lost the connection of Prabhuji. Let me ping them. Okay. Back.
Hello.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So before further ado, let me see. We have Shamlila Mataji somewhere.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. I'll make you co-host if that's okay with you.
Ji, Prabhuji.
So the electricity went away here. And I think the Wi-Fi that was connected was also disconnected due to electricity. Sec. Okay. So I'm using my phone hotspot. I'm not sure how well it will work. Okay. Okay. Shalu Mataji, am I audible?
Yes,
No?
Prabhuji.
Okay. And okay, we'll keep going. Okay, so what to do about the materialistic people? So, verse number 26 talks about this. So, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. That's the translation. So the last two lines of the verse are Joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yuktah samacharan. So for these people in the second line, it says Ajnanam karma sanginam. So those who are Ajnanis, who do not know the real Jnana, that this material world will not lead us to any happiness. That is the Ajnana. Karma sanginam, and those who are attached to the fruitive results. Then the Vidwans should Joshayet sarva karmani. They should inspire them to perform this karma yoga in a gradual way, which means go from complete materialistic sense gratification propensity to sakama karma yoga, some sacrifice being involved, some austerity being involved, and then higher to nishkama karma yoga. And that is not the final message of Bhagavad Gita either, finally going to bhakti, which means that offering everything that we are doing as an act of bhakti to Krishna. More details about that will come in chapter 7, 8, and 9. But it is going to come up right now itself. Lord Krishna is not going to skip that portion in chapter 3 either, but a very small reference is going to be given. So, inspiring the beginner karma yogi and by engaging and guiding him properly. And by setting a personal example. So this personal example, Lord Krishna is saying, is very important. So if you see, the same two aspects are involved here: to inspire others or to teach and guide others. But how? By setting an example. You cannot set an example without implementing it on yourself. So that implementing on one's own self is very important. This is a point that at least I have seen many people have mentioned it as well, that before one seriously starts implementing on oneself, one starts to share with others in the interest of, or in the excitement of, what the knowledge that one has gained. But knowledge after implementing on one's own self should be, is one that actually inspires others. So actions speak much, much louder than words. So not by lecturing on dry philosophy, things that you have learned. Information is available in the books in many places. What people are looking for is not information, but inspiration. So an inspiration can only be given after you have applied it on yourself. And never one should adopt a holier than thou attitude. This will also come when one tries to share something without implementing on oneself, because one does not know the hardships of implementing on oneself. It is hard to implement. And otherwise, once you have gained it from, oh yeah, losing weight is so easy. Just exercise for 1 hour every day. Don't eat too much. Eat half of what you are eating. It is so easy. Why can't you do it? So telling others is very easy based on information. But when you do it on yourself, I am guilty of being overweight, but I know how hard it is to eat less. When you feel like eating another piece of bread or another chapati or whatever, another helping, and you're feeling hungry, it's extremely, extremely difficult to say that I don't want to eat more. So, or to skip a meal and then constantly one is feeling hungry. So implementing on oneself is extremely important before trying to tell others what to do. So actions speak much, much louder than words. And Bhagavad Gita has a lot of, it is highly practical. It's even if one is trying to teach Bhagavad Gita or, guide others in Bhagavad Gita, it's not dry philosophy. It's a lot of practical implementation. So how to differentiate between beginner and advanced? So that is a very important verse. And I think this is a verse that is to be memorized. One of the memorization verses by the Bhakti Shastri students. It's a very important verse. And it says, Prakriteha kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvaśaḥ ahankara vimuhdatma kartaham iti manyate. The translation is, the spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So, prakriteha kriyamanani, that all the activities or actions, kriyas, are being performed by prakriti or our material nature, consisting of gunaihi karmani sarvaśaḥ. Sarvaśaḥ means all activities are performed by out of the result of material nature. Guna and karma are big aspects of that. And what does a beginner think? Ahankara vimudhatma. Vimudha. Mudha means, as you know, a fool. Vimudha means a big fool. A certain sure shot fool. Vimudha. So vimudhatma, ahankara. He is just in his own ahankar, his own pride and ego, that karta aham iti manyate. He thinks iti manyate, that karta aham, that I am the doer. So a beginner thinks I am the doer. And especially for the results that are sweet. If you got an A grade in the class, who got the A grade? I got the A grade. Not because the questions were those that you had prepared. I'm sure nobody prepares every page of the textbook. So to get A grade, there has to be some little bit of luck also needed. So people say, I have produced results. It's all about, but when things don't go the right way, then somebody else is to blame. Only if that didn't happen, then I would have done better. Then somebody else is responsible. So then one doesn't think I am the doer of my failure. So that is the fallacy. And this is due to the ahankara, and such a person is called as vimudha by Lord Krishna. Whereas the advanced person thinks that, now here I have shown a picture. A farmer is a nice example, a very striking example and a very easy example. Now, obviously, the farmer puts in a lot of effort. He has to sow the seed. He has to first till the land, sow the seed, water it, and all that. So that is why I have put here, I am the only doer. One thinks that is the foolishness. It's not that we have zero contribution. Everything is just on autopilot mode. That is not correct. So those who get an A grade in the test, yes, obviously they have some credit to it. But that's not the only credit. Just like the farmer has to put some effort, but what else has to happen? somebody wants to say?
It has to rain. There shouldn't be like any insects or anything destroying the crops.
Yes, very
Fertile
nice.
land.
Anything else could go
Fertile
wrong?
land.
What?
Land, the fertile land, Prabhu.
Yeah, fertile land has to be there. So many things have to be there for a successful crop. And you need to have good quality seeds, and you need to sow them in the right season. You cannot sow it in the wrong season. So you can do everything and then you realize, oops, I sowed the wrong seeds in the wrong season. And then the crop will not be successful. So a lot has to also happen for us to be successful. There used to be a nice video called The Story of Stuff. I don't know if I have mentioned it in previous classes. You can Google for it on YouTube or whatever. The Story of Stuff. And this person has made a very nice video on how much goes behind our modern day comforts of the first world. We are all living in a very well-to-do, flourishing first world society. And a lot is being done in the background, and much of it we don't even pay for. We just take it for granted. And we are exploiting the resources of this planet. So, and there is no one paying the cost for it. We will all pay collectively the cost in many years or many hundreds of years, but not today. And we don't realize it. So all that is kind of aligned with this thought that we are not the only producers of our successes. There are other factors that are responsible. So an advanced person knows that a lot else is responsible for our results. Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter mentions nature, time, past karma, and of course our effort produces the results. Our past conditioning, past reactions, there is past karma that is involved for us to bear fruit. And thus he is not attached to the results of his actions because he knows I am not the only producer of the results. So this is a very important verse which captures a lot of meaning in it. Karta ahankara vimudhatma, karta aham iti manyate. He thinks I am the doer, whereas Prakriti and guna and karma are responsible as well. Material nature is responsible, and our guna, our qualities, our conditioning and past reactions are also responsible for the results we produce. Past reactions, there's a very nice thing I wanted to mention. I do not remember the Sanskrit verse. If you want all the Sanskrit praman, the evidences and more details, I invite you to strongly invite you to hear classes by Hari Parshad Prabhu. He's one of the foremost scholars on the planet today on Vaishnava philosophy. So he mentions that this example this is given in the Shastras. I don't know the exact verse, that past karma is like, like a calf. Within a million cows, a calf can find its mother. If it is lost and there are million cows standing in front, a calf can always find its mother. Similarly, material nature is such that our past karma, our past reactions, how many our lifetimes ago they might have accumulated, somehow or the other they find us, and we will be forced to pay the price. So just like a calf finds its lost mother, our past karma finds us. There is no escape. It's a very nice verse. Then coming back to setting an example for those who are advanced, but setting an example in a wise way. So the 28th verse is, one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. And 29th one says, bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached, but the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. So, one should, the wise person should very carefully navigate the beginner person into performing some form of yoga. One should not force it on the other one. One should not drag the other person too fast. If a small baby is trying to walk and you try to make him run by dragging him, holding his hand and dragging him too fast, he will fall. That will not be productive. So you need to, a guide or a teacher needs to take the student at the pace of the student. So it is also an art. It is also a very careful, balanced activity for the teacher to guide the students properly in a way that they will actually understand. Otherwise, if you just want to show off, see how great of a guru I am, how much information I have accumulated, and see how much capacity I have to blurt it out, then you are just, doing a disservice. You may be able to cast a good impression. Oh, he's a very learned person. Most people, are just interested in being a guru, a show off how much information I have. And that's one of the big reasons why they want to accumulate information, is to show off how much they have. So that's not correct. That's not conducive to the other person. Okay. Yes, Shrikar, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question about Prakriti Kriyamanani verse. I'm sorry if this is not a super relevant question, but in the synonyms, the breakdown for sarvaśaḥ means all kinds of. I was just wondering whether that's referring to karmani or whether that's referring to something else, like prakriti or prakriti. Like,
So
is it all? Yeah.
yeah, in Sanskrit, a particular word can refer to multiple items or multiple objects.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So because a verse has to be packed within the meter and so on, and therefore it is possible that sarvaśaḥ could be associated or could be indicated with multiple objects. It could be with karmani, or it could be with various aspects of guna or kriyamanani as well. But the point is, yes, so we need to, that's why exactly we need to understand from Acharya's commentaries, the translations, the anvaya, the purports given by them to understand the verse. And I am not a big Sanskrit or a Sanskrit scholar by any stretch. I know a little bit, but not a whole lot, to the level as to analyze as to what does sarvaśaḥ, all, sarva means all, which aspect of which words in the verse does sarva apply to, and to which ones it doesn't. So we will depend on the translation of the verse to get the meaning. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. So again, in 28, the advanced yogi, how he himself behaves and how he guides others. Both are given in this 28 and 29, and that is very, very important. How to set an example in the wise way is to first implement on yourself properly. So the advanced yogi, that is what is being discussed in 28, that guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate, that one understands that how the world works, how tattvavittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo, that all these activities are or material nature, or all the results are being produced as a result of material nature. And iti matva na sajjate, knowing all this, he does not become attached. So this is all about implementing it on one's own self. Then in 3.29, it is being mentioned, the beginners, prakriter guna sammudha sajjante guna karmasu. So na sajjate was used in the previous verse, and 29 uses the word sajjate, means, or sajjante, that the beginner people, or those who are not even, who have not even begun the sense gratifiers, the materialists, they consider or they get attached to the results. But what do the wise people do? Tan akritsna vido mandan kritsna vin na vichalayet. So vichalayet means one should not try to agitate. So vichalit, in Hindi we say there is vichalit karna. So vichalit means to try to one getting agitated. Na vichalayet. They don't try to disturb them too much. And this na vichalayet has a lot of commentary behind it, and I have explained much of it in the past few minutes, that one has to guide very properly and very gradually. If you see the translation by Srila Prabhupada in verse number 26, he's translating it as he should engage them in all sorts of activities. And in brackets, he says, for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness, not for a unprecedentedly accelerated development of Krishna consciousness. One shouldn't drag a small child just to teach him how to walk. Otherwise, he will fall. So that is very important, that one should very carefully guide others in how to develop in their bhakti for one who has already made some progress, sincere progress in their life. So yeah, never adopting a holier than thou attitude, never trying to unnecessarily lecture them. Guiding others is a very, very big responsibility and needs to be done very carefully. So this is the essence of many of these verses that we have discussed. Okay, now comes some of the most important verses of the 3rd chapter. So this is the essence of how the advanced person makes progress. He knows that Lord Krishna, so we'll be talking about these 3 verses, 30, 31, and 32, that Lord Krishna is the ultimate creator and maintainer of everyone and everything. And therefore, Lord Krishna says this verse, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvara. A very, very important verse. Probably I would say from a bhakti standpoint, this is the most important verse of the 3rd chapter. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. So let us unpack this. So what Lord Krishna is saying, therefore, mai sarvani karmani, all activities. Now here sarvani is, I can say more directly, it is applying to karmani. So therefore, all activities, mai sanyasya, surrender them or offer them to me or give up the result. Sannyas means to give up. So give up the activities, sarvani karmani, to me, Mayi. And Mayi is obviously Krishna because Krishna is speaking these verses. Adhyatma chetasa. And your mind, not just giving it to me, but with the proper consciousness, with the proper understanding. So there is a lot to be said about this consciousness as well. A lot of people, one of the things that I just will mention is trying to compare oneself with others. Oh, he donated $10,000. Now, if you are only earning $10,000 a month, or I don't know, whatever, you may not be able, he may be a big businessman. So you cannot compare. So having that with the proper consciousness, one should do bhakti. So as an act of bhakti is if one is, let's say, giving some money for a, to a Vaishnava, to a temple or whatever, to some cause for Lord Krishna, or just donating it to a temple, one should have the proper bhava, not, for example, oh, are others looking at me while I'm doing it? Is my name being mentioned? Or for others, oh, I need to match him. He donated this much, I must donate that much. And he will get into a lot of trouble to do it. So all that proper consciousness is missing sometimes. It becomes like a race. So one's race should be against one's maya or one's material propensities, not with others. So that is called proper consciousness. Doing bhakti with even if you are donating $1 for a poor person, for a beggar, if he donates $1, it's equal to for a big businessman to donate 1 million. Just like Hanumanji was lifting big rocks and small squirrels were lifting small pieces of sand. Both are equal in the eyes of Lord Ram. Hanumanji has huge capacity, so he is expected to serve Lord Ram by lifting huge rocks, mountains. Small squirrels have small capacity and they are expected to do their little part. That is the right consciousness. Adhyatma chetasa. So doing bhakti with the right mood is very important. It's not the quantity, it is the mood that matters. And what is the mood here? The next line is describing nirashir. Nirasha. It's not the Hindi meaning that nirasha means like disappointment. Nirasha. So I think I have explained all this in the next build up of the slide. Nirashi. Without any desire. Nirasha. No desires. Oh, I will get this. I will get name and fame. I will get X, Y, or Z. And nirmama. That nirmam means no feeling of me and mine, mam and aham, nirmama. And in Arjuna's case, Lord Krishna is saying, yudhyasva vigata jvara. That means fight, jvara. Jvara means fever. In Hindi, we say jvara for fever. So Arjuna was having this fever of whatever, I don't want to fight. So give up all your lethargy. Srila Prabhupada, I think that's the translation he uses. Free from lethargy, fight. So in the same way, for us, it is do your activities without any laziness, but with the proper consciousness of bhakti to Sri Krishna. So once again, the verse is, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvara. Very important verse, and I think we discussed all the words or all the aspects of this verse. And in the next verse, Lord Krishna will say that those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions, Ye me matam idam nityam anushthittanti manavaha. Anutishtanti manavaha. So anushtita means to execute or to organize. So one who execute or organize their duties in this way, manavaha. So that's another important thing. This instruction is meant for all people, manava. All manavaha. Now, karma is only accumulated in human life. And that is why manava is being used, because karma is not accumulated in animal life, for example. When a tiger eats a deer or a rabbit, the tiger does not get karma. So karma is only accumulated in the human life. Therefore, this instruction is for manavaha. And bhakti ideally can only be performed in human life as well. So this human life is very important chance, is a very important opportunity for us to perform bhakti. And that is why Lord Krishna is saying, Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manava. One should always follow this instruction. What instruction? To follow my injunctions. Me matam. And how one should perform? Shraddhavanto anasuyanto. So working with Shraddha. So with a lot of faith and conviction in Lord's words. So many times it happens that we do bhakti when things are going well. So when life is going great, yes, we do some bhakti. And bhava may also come at that time that yes, I'm doing it really because I love Bhagavan. But when trouble comes, when misery comes, then our faith may get shaken. And those are very good times when misery comes, because they are like tests that how strong is our faith. Are we still able to really depend on Krishna that yes, there must be something in my benefit. Right now, I am undergoing some trouble, but end of the day, this is for my benefit. Having that and that Krishna's plan for me is better than my plan for me. When the mother is trying to tell the child, now it's time to sleep, stop playing, the child may think that the mother is not acting in my interest and she's forcing me to do things that I don't like. And in that locally, in that moment of time, it may feel like a cruel act. But in the long run, it is better for us. And then the next question comes, why can't God give me all the reasoning? Explain to me, communicate to me. In companies, in corporate culture, we are told communication, effective communication is very important. Communicate the reasons, the motivation behind your ideas or your actions. That may be true in that case, but take the case of a mother and a small child. Mother cannot explain to the small child because he doesn't have sufficient language, sufficient intelligence that is developed, that how important it is to drink milk or to sleep on time or whatever else is needed to be done, or get a haircut. I remember I used to cry so much just to get a haircut, even though it wouldn't hurt. And when the barber would cut my hair, I would say, oh, it's hurting. As if I would imagine as if, nobody else has had a haircut and it doesn't hurt to cut the hair. So anyway, we similarly do not have the big picture, the capacity to see what's there in our future or how our actions have shaped who we are, that whole big span of understanding we do not have. So it's kind of foolish or not meaningful to ask that God should come and explain to me the whole reasoning why I am undergoing misery. And that is why bhakti is very important, that one should accept misery as teaching by Bhagavan for our benefit. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this very beautiful verse, 10.14.8. Tattenukampam susamikshamaano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vapurbhir vidadham namaste jive tayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. So please read that verse, and it's something to keep with yourself for your entire life, that verse. It says that a devotee always thinks that any misery that comes ultimately is a result of his own doing. And like that, he continues to lead his life with bhakti. Hridvag vapubhir vidadham namaste. He does not give up God or his bhakti of God or Bhagavan just because some misery arrives. And such a person, mukti pade sadaya bha, will definitely attain mukti and bhakti of Sri Krishna. So, with Shraddha, all this discussion was about Shraddha, that Shraddhavanto anasuyanto muchyante te api karmabhi. And the result is that muchyante karmabhi, one then gets freed from the results of all karma. On the contrary, text 32 says, but those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So Lord Krishna says, Ye tva etad abhyasuyanto na anutishtanti me matam. Na anutishtanti me matam. That those who don't execute or organize or plan and execute their life according to me matam, my instructions, my teachings. What happens? Sarva jnana vimudham stam. They may think they have a lot of knowledge. Whatever knowledge they may have is all becomes meaningless at the end of their life. Vidhi nashtan achetasaha. For these achetasaha, the previous word had what? Chetasa, adhyatma chetasa. And in this 32nd verse, the opposite is being used, achetasaha. Vidhi nashtan. Everything becomes destroyed for such a achetasa person. So this 30, 31, and 32, in summary, it is talking about executing actions according to Krishna's instructions, surrendering those actions to Krishna, sarvani karmani sanyasya, giving up. Sanyas means to give up those actions with the proper consciousness. What is that consciousness? Nir asha and nir mama, yet with a lot of commitment, vigata jwara, not in a lazy way, lethargic way, yudhyasva. So do your, Arjuna's duty was to fight. Our duty is to fight in our own little space, but with lot of enthusiasm, giving up all lethargy or fever, vigata jwara. And doing it with shraddha. Otherwise, whatever else is there other than this, which means all the material knowledge, all the material things that we think we own or we can utilize our jnana, whatever else. Yes, it may benefit us temporarily, but one day it will not save us. It won't save us from repeated birth and death and repeated misery. So Bhagavad Gita is talking about the long-term problem and the long-term solution. Okay. 33. Yeah. Every man, even a man of knowledge, acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? So it's like a rhetorical question. And in 34 and 35, Lord Krishna is talking about the fact that one should be sincere and honest in their approach, lead a regulated lifestyle, not under-regulate and not over-regulate. So Lord Krishna is again stressing on the aspect of leading a regulated life.
Hello?
A regulated life that is according to one's level. This is very, very important. Many people try to go beyond their level and then they are not able to sustain it. So being at one's level is very, very important. So Lord Krishna says in 34, there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So the word I am picking on is one should control the attachment or not come under the control of such attachment and aversion. So one should not become too artificially averse either. Oh, I will give up this material world. I will sleep on the floor. Every morning I will take a cold water shower. There are devotees who, after many years of practice, yes, they may be able to sleep on the floor. They may take a cold water shower every morning. They may eat very little. They may eat very simple food. They may easily be able to resist temptations of all kinds. We may not be able to do the same. So there is no harm in living a life at our level, and at that level, practicing bhakti or trying to go ahead. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu has this nice example or way to say it. There is the comfort zone, there is the stretch zone. These two we have heard. There is a third zone called the panic zone or the breakup zone. So a rubber band is, one is when it is completely unstretched. Second is when it is stretched. The third is when you try to stretch it too much, it breaks. So that's the breakup or the panic zone. So one should not try to overdo. That's the important part as well. So that is what is being said. One should not be attached to sense gratification. That's one point. And this is different from, and in 4th chapter, we will see it is different from fulfilling basic needs. If there are basic needs, one should fulfill those. Now, the Goswamis could live in a small cottage, in a small hut. They didn't need a vehicle or a car. Or one may say that, oh, in India, people live on a bicycle, but in America, you cannot live on a bicycle. So living in America means having a modest car is equal to having a bicycle or a scooter in India. One should not artificially say, I will live in America and I'll just walk, or I will just use a bicycle or whatever. It's not, you're inviting more trouble by doing that. So having basic needs fulfilled is very important. One should not under-regulate. And then 35, Lord Krishna says, it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another duties perfectly. Why? Because destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another duties. Why? For to follow another's path is dangerous. You will fall. Some way or the other, you will fall. You may see some devotees taking cold water shower every morning. You are not used to it and you do it, you will get hypothermia, you will fall sick, and then you will say, oh, this bhakti is all nonsense, I don't want to do it. And you will give it up. What was the use? Better to do it at your own level and take it gradually than to accelerate it beyond what you can take. So do not be a pretender. This was also discussed in the beginning, 3.6, mithyachar. Don't try to be somebody you are not. Don't be unrealistic, even unknowingly, which means just don't blindly do things. Have some consciousness about what you are doing. Analyze yourself. Look at yourself, where you are doing, where you are going, what you are doing. One must be a little, use your intelligence. God has given intelligence to be used even in bhakti. All the instructions that are given, general instructions, are meant for a large group of people. But everybody will follow some customized version of those instructions. They cannot be taken completely literally. Oh, in the class, I heard this. Now I will exactly do that. Some customization according to your intelligence, and then one can have one-on-one discussions with their mentors, with their guru, and so on, for their personal progress. So this is very important. And sincerity and honesty, acknowledging one's progress. This is where I am, and this is my level. Now, some people, again, another example is some people say, oh, I will only eat food cooked by a devotee. Now, if you're traveling and you are in a city where there is no devotees, there is no anything, then will you go hungry? And you cannot cook it yourself. Okay, fine. In that case, eat in a restaurant. Try to find a restaurant where, which is in the mode of goodness or something. And if you cannot find it, okay, eat whatever is available, sattvic is available, or whatever, according to your level. Some people may say, okay, I'll just go hungry today. It is possible. They will say, I'll just eat very little today, or I will just stay hungry today because I cannot get proper things to eat. That may be fine, but imitating others and then suffering internally and being cranky is not recommended at all. So one should be honest and sincere and be at your level. They are at their level, I will be at my level. So this whole discussion we have been having. So this is what makes Bhagavad Gita so practical. It's not like a whip that everybody must do this. It's not dictatorial. It's very practical, and there is a lot of scope of customization on a personal level. Okay. Now Arjun asks a very, very important question. O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So Arjuna is asking this question because Lord Krishna just said, Yudhyasva vigata jvara, fight. And he's still kind of in that mode that killing people or something is sinful. So he's asking this question. But there's a lot of importance for us in this. So, if you see the verse, the word papa is right there. Atha kena prayukto ayam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. So why do people get attracted to papa? Papam charati purushaha. A person gets, drawn towards committing papa or sinful action. Kena prayukto. How come this happens? That one is just drawn towards committing a sinful action. Anichan. Anichan. Ichha means with one desire or with one's, active desire. Anichha means with no desire, unwillingly, as if by force, baladiva, as if like somebody else is forcing me to commit sinful action. How does it happen? So the question is for us. Now it's that's why I see, I didn't put the proper animation on that, but do you see yourself in this? That sometimes we may not be committing a papa in like a ghor papa, like a murder or a rape or whatever, kidnapping, etc. But we may be committing small level of papa, or we may slip sometimes based on our level. We said we will be at this level, and sometimes we slip. Sometimes we commit actions that don't meet our own standard that we set. And we feel unworthy, we feel low, we feel guilty. So how many of you are in that, have experienced that, right? You don't need to raise your hand, but yeah, many of you will. I have experienced that many times. But we end up doing it as if like, and then we regret. Oh, why did I do it? And I'm not just talking about eating an extra gulab jamun. That's like a very simple example. But it's about, let's say there is some person you don't like. And every time you see them, you blow up and you say bad things. Then you read Bhagavad Gita, you go to Bhagavad Gita class and you'll say, next time I will not lose my temper. And once it happens, twice it happens successfully, third time you forget. And then you think, and then and then you blow up unnecessarily. And then you think, why did I do that? So there is a sense of shame, guilt, and all that. Now, this is not ghor papa, but for many people, it may be committing sinful actions. Actual sinful actions may be involved. It just depends on the level of the person. The question is not about what level of sin was committed. The question is why it happens. The root cause is the same in all the cases. So the first thing is to identify yourself in it, because once you establish this problem as a personal problem, the solution will make more sense. Otherwise, it is theoretical. Oh, this guy is a serial killer. He is committing killings on a regular basis. So it applies to him, doesn't apply to me. If that is the attitude, then Bhagavad Gita will not make sense to you. So we must always try to find the problem in ourselves for the solution of Bhagavad Gita to make sense to us. It's very important, very useful. And then Lord Krishna reveals the solution. And just a quick recap from second chapter. And same thing is being mentioned here. So if you remember, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, that was described in second chapter. Raga, we said, means strong attachments. Material attachments are called raga. And when our attachments are fulfilled, or when our desires coming out of our attachments are fulfilled, then we have bhaya of losing those results. And when they are unfulfilled, it leads to krodha or anger. So that we had discussed. Now we go to next level of papa that will be described. So what is the connection between this and papa? We will see in the next few verses. But the eternal enemy or the root cause is kama. So kama, so in the 37th verse, Lord Krishna says, so 36 was Arjuna's question. I should have titled this 37 to 39, not 36 to 39. Okay. So I'll fix that. But 37 to 39. So 37, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajoguna Samudbhavaha, Mahashano Mahapapma, Vidhyenam Iha Vairinam. So, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajoguna Samudbhavaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So what is the root cause? It is kama or lust, which is the same thing as raga. That's why I just, in this previous slide, I struck out raga because that was the term used in second chapter. Kama and raga, same thing. So kama is being used now by Sri Krishna. Kama eva, kama esha, krodha esha. And then in the next verse, Lord Krishna will say that there are various layers. So one is covered by the others. There are so many layers, that whole concept, and Krishna will give a couple of examples. So I'm just summarizing that this kama has several layers, and I will explain what that is. And this kama can never be satisfied or never be satisfied with material actions or material pursuits. So these are the important points about kama that one should understand. Now, kama is just strong attachments for anything. No, it's not just referring to strong attachments in the to the opposite gender. It is talking about strong attachment. That's a very strong attachment for many, for 99%. That's maybe the number one thing to it's very hard to give up, that Ravana mentality about, just having strong attachment to the opposite gender. But it means about anything. These days, it is also about money and power and so many things. So the thing is, like we said in the previous slide, unfulfilled desires, when the desires or attachments are unfulfilled, or you made plans for it and they got thwarted, that leads to anger or krodha. So you have certain plans that you make to fulfill your desires, and somebody throws a wrench in those plans. That makes you so angry. Why did this happen? Why did he do this? Everything was going great till this person did this. Now I will take revenge against that person. So all that. So unfulfilled desires lead to anger. And in anger, one commits sinful actions. Because one tries to take revenge, or one tries to fix things that didn't go right. And the shortcut, sinful action, what is a sinful action? End of the day, it is a shortcut to achieve your means. So any sinful action, a person will not commit sinful action if there is no immediate benefit. All sinful actions have some immediate benefit. But why are they called sinful? Because in the long run, we have to pay the price. And the core aspect of a sinful action is when you are encroaching on someone else's rights or property. or their limits. So sinful action means I could not attain it within my limits or within my assigned quota. So I will go and grab somebody else's quota. That is what is the difference between being dharmic and sinful. So in anger, one commits sinful actions because some plan was thwarted and you are now trying to fix it, put a band-aid on top of it, create a shortcut. And then you think that, okay, I will just, what I couldn't get legally, I will get illegally. And that is sinful action. Yes, Ramya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I had one question on strong attachments within family. Like as a mom, I will be attached to my son. But it might lead to smaller anger issues, but it's actually a good relation and a good attachment and not necessarily leads to any pain or suffering. Or so is this a good attachment to have, or any form of attachment is not good? Where do we draw the line?
Yes. Very standard question. So, obviously, as a mother, one is attached to the child. And that is a good kind of, it is still material, obviously. And I will say this, then I will come right back to where I was. Okay. In the long, long run, if one is continuously attached to one's child only, then one cannot have the space to be attached to Krishna. So one has to, and when especially, and human and not human, and material nature has made things in a way that your child does not need your attention lifelong. So you need to be attached in the sense to take care, to do things for a certain number of years. Then the child grows up and has his own life and so on. So you, as a mother, do everything that is needed with a lot of love. And as a mother, you will never be able to give up the love, even if the child grows big. But one should gradually be aware that bhakti to Krishna is the most important aspect of one's life, and not neglect that, and continuously, as the child grows up, increase the bhakti, have the love in the heart for the child, but not always just doing things or occupying your time and consciousness on the child once the child grows up. All right. Now, when the child is younger or one grown up, there are many mothers I know and have seen who will do anything and everything, even if, sometimes illegal things. Many parents, they will deprive other children for the sake of their own child. They'll, I can't think of any straightforward examples without sort of sounding cringe, so to say, but you can understand, that one should not go to such extent. I don't know if there's limited amount of food and there are few children there, distribute it equally. Every child is belonging to some mother. Unless it's a life and death situation, why would you just give more to your child and deprive somebody else's child? So those kind of things, or actively, if your child is playing, some children are playing with some toys, and you just scold the other child and give all the toys to your child if no one else is watching, and the other one is, mothers can get, can cross the line in the name of, oh, I love my child. All those things lead to sinful propensity or sinful reactions. Okay, so that is what one should control. But it doesn't mean becoming a sannyasini and just giving up, walking out of your house, and I don't know who is my child, and leave it to the father or whatever, and just walk out. That's certainly not the case. But after a certain point in one's life, one should seriously consider. Now, there are, even when you're grown up, like for 3 hours, you're just on the phone talking to the child. What did you cook today? How are the grandchildren? What color of dress they wore? This and that and that. And for 3, 4, 5 hours, you're just, just continuously and those, I don't know. I personally don't see sense in that. Yes, you can talk for 30 minutes or 15 minutes. And then once the child becomes bigger and has their own life, one should focus. And even when the child is young, I'm not meaning to say that one should not do any bhakti at that time, but gradually increase. And the goal is, the end goal, or not the goal, but the process is to dedicate 100% of our time and consciousness in bhakti, 100%, no less. So if it is 100% to Krishna, there is going to be, at some point, there is going to be no scope for anyone else. And don't think about that right now. When that stage will come, you will be most happy to be in that stage. So don't think what will happen when I become a billionaire. How will I spend the $1 billion? Right now, you don't even have $1,000, and you're trying to imagine what a big problem it will be to have $1 billion. Don't be in that space. How will I think of Krishna all the time? When that stage happens, you'll be most happy to be in that stage. Right now, focus on, if you are having $1,000, try to get to 10,000. Don't try to think about billion. So right now, try to spend 1 hour, 2 hours of your time doing your bhakti. In 24 hours, even if you're a mother of 3 children, you can find 1 to 2 hours to do bhakti. And it means cutting down on useless stuff. We fill our life with useless stuff, and then we blame it. Oh, I have children, and so I cannot do. The children then become the scapegoat for our lack of interest or commitment in bhakti. That should not, that's what you call it, hypocrisy. I also have 2 children, and I know. So nobody can tell that, oh, having 2, 3 children is the reason to not do bhakti. I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept that.
Thank you.
Yes, Pradeep ji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I have
Hare
a very basic question, like in this Kalyug world, it's very difficult to know whether we are doing a bad karma or good karma. Like I just give couple of example to like better ask my question. So let's take an example, like some bug come up when I was eating my food. I will just kill it and then try to have my food. Even I don't recognize it that I'm doing a bad karma. And even in the life, or like small things, walking and then the ants crossing, and then I might kill it, and I might be doing some bad karma. And also in small lives, because we are in Kalyug, we don't know whether we are doing a good karma or bad karma. So how do we recognize that this is a bad karma or this is a good karma and we should not do it?
Yeah, you have taken all those examples, which are very, very hard to avoid. Okay, so there is one answer for those kind of examples that you have mentioned. Okay, but and I'm not asking you this personally, but in generic way, to anybody like you who may ask this question, my counter question is, okay, let's keep this aside, walking on the road and killing the ants or whatever else. Have we taken care of all the other more black and white sinful activities in our life? Tax fraud. Please tell me, is there any doubt that it is a sinful activity?
No.
No doubt, correct? Yet many people do it at small or big levels. whatever it may be. Or take any other example, which are clearly sinful activities. In our companies, we do so many, by lying, we people lie on their resume, people lie to get promotions, people backstab each other. They will say something and then somebody says that, reveals their heart or whatever, some reality to you about their project, and you take advantage of that. They told you some problem in their project, you go and report it to somebody else saying, see, all these problems are there. He's not telling you, but I know all these problems are there, because he came and revealed to you because he wanted some help and you took advantage. Is that a borderline activity, or it is clear black and white sinful? Please tell me.
Yeah, it's a sinful.
It is sin. So let us first worry about all those activities and eliminate those from our life. That is point number one. Okay. Then coming to these other activities, which are very, very, very hard to avoid. Okay. And as a person who is present in the material world, okay, even you may be a great devotee, you are breathing. Simply by breathing, some animals, not animals, some whatever, microorganisms are getting killed. That's why some Jain sannyasis you might have seen, they wear a mask as a symbolic. Even then they are getting killed, those microorganisms. Just wearing a mask doesn't make it zero. It may make it from 90% to 10%, but it is still not zero. And again, if I have heard this from Hari Parshad Prabhu. There is a verse that says, as a grihastha, you have to boil water to cook. Any cooking requires boiling water. So many microorganisms get killed in boiling water. How can you avoid it? Walking on the street, yes, you may walk on the street like Bharat Maharaj. He was walking and he was looking for ants, but maybe you will step on an ant unknowingly. What to do about it? Answer is nothing can be done. Yes, something can be done, but at that practical level, nothing can be done. What you should do, therefore, is very strong Krishna Bhakti. The solution for all these things is strong Krishna Bhakti. When you do strong Krishna Bhakti, you get relieved from all these unknown or unwilling sinful activities that you committed. Okay, so those unknown and unwilling, and what's the other word I'm looking for? Anyway, so one is relieved from the reactions of all of those, because in bhakti, you do not have to give up your material life. In Jnana path, in Jnana marg, ultimately you have to completely give up all material activity and go into samadhi. In samadhi, you even stop breathing, let alone eating. So no need to cook or boil water if you're not eating. Even breathing you stop. So no organisms get killed. So which means you are now performing no activity. But is that practical and possible in today's world? No. So bhakti is the answer, where you do not have to do such extreme things. You can still cook, you can still eat, you can still breathe, you can still walk on the streets. And yes, in that process, you will kill some organisms. But because you are doing everything in your life for bhakti, if you are cooking something and you are offering to Krishna as bhoga, and you are eating prasad, even though it involved killing some microorganisms, you are relieved from the reactions. This will be covered in chapter 9, 9.27 and 9.28. You can look at the verse right now. Yad karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhoshi dadasi yad tapasyashi kaunteya tad kurushva madarpanam. And then next verse says, Shubha ashubha halaireva. Any shubha or ashubha thing that comes out of such action. Of what action? Yad karoshi, yad juhoshi, yad mad kurushva, tad kurushva mad arpanam. Doing it as a offering to me, doing like this. Shubha, ashubha, phalai resha. What is the next line after that? I'm forgetting. That you get relieved from the shubha or ashubha phal of those activities. So you cooked and you killed some organisms in the water. It is ashubha phal. You will be relieved from it because you did it as mad arpanam. You did it as a arpan to Krishna. All right.
Got it.
Does that
Thanks.
answer your question?
Yes, it answers my question. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Arnab Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. In addition to what he was asking, does this apply also to factor like, say, if a person is going to war, like a soldier, and he knows he has to kill somebody in that war, but if he's taking Krishna's name while doing his activity, does not get the karma?
First of all, it is sounding a very hypothetical what if question. Are you employed as a soldier? Are you in the armed forces?
No.
So, let me see how I want to answer this. One thing is, I mean, my immediate reaction on hearing your question was, we should focus on more questions that are close to our personal life and not what if questions. That was my initial reaction, but it is still a valid question. And there are so many people in the armed forces and who actually have to, kill people, kill others in a state of war. Or today, as you can say, press the button for the drone to drop the bomb. And it's a big debate these days whether to press the button or not, kind of thing. So, first of all, the war that Arjuna is fighting is a dharmic war, and Lord Krishna is personally present. These days, all kinds of conflicts in the world are a result of some sense gratification desire of somebody or the other. Whether you call it Vladimir Putin on one side, or you call it the military industrial complex on the other side, who knows what is the reality? I don't know all the politics, but the point is that much of today's conflict is a result of someone's sense gratification. And ideally, we should not participate in such activities. Just extrapolating this quite a bit, it is the same thing as saying, what if I am an employee in a butcher shop? Or I am employed in a whatever, drug cartel, or, I'm whatever it may be, some directly sinful activity. So we must try to distance ourselves as much as possible from that. And having joined the armed forces, you cannot say, I will not pull the trigger or press the button. So that would be my response. All conflict in the world is a result of today's conflict is a result of someone's sense gratification. Now, as an act of defense, now whether I don't know who is the defense here and who is the aggressor, whether it is Zelensky or Putin or Gaza or Israel or Lebanon, I don't want to get into the politics and everything. But as a matter of self-defense, let us say somebody comes to your door with a gun, and you have a gun to protect yourself, and you pull the trigger as a matter of self-defense, then it is dharmic. So the soldier has to decide. I don't know how all that psychology works. In Hitler's time, yes, orders were coming from the top. Yes, go into this concentration camp and kill all these Jews. And in the Nuremberg trials, many people said, oh, I was just following orders. This whole concept of just following orders. So at some level, there is sense in it. Yes, I have to follow orders, otherwise the boss will kill me. Or karma, the reactions that I face, I'll have to face those. So it's a very complex question that you are asking, even, and it is debated even in the ethical discussions, in modern ethics discussions today also, that what should a soldier do if he is given an order which is ethically questionable. That's what you're asking. And the Bhagavad Gita answer I have given you.
Okay.
Beyond that, I don't want to discuss.
No, thank you very much. This is, I think it answers some of my questions in my mind. This question comes to my mind from a very young age when I saw that I was at Badrinath in 1999 when Kargil war started, and big army officers were coming to pray at the temple before going to the war. So I was also thinking of something like what is going on. So I think that thing was in my mind. So thank you for the answer. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
so maybe they have, it's the consciousness. Bhakti is all about consciousness, okay? So, you know, that's what ultimately matters. The externals matter the least. So if they have the consciousness that, yes, this is fully justified, I need to defend myself, my family, my country, or whatever, and I feel completely justified. The order is not unethical that is being given to me to pull the trigger. And I am coming to the Lord to seek his blessings, to seek his protection, or just to, you don't know what he's praying for, whether for victory, whether for protection, whether for the fact that if I get hit by the bullet, in that moment, may I remember you. Maybe he's praying for that if the last moment arrives, may I be able to remember you. That would be a nice thing to pray for. One way or the other, one has to die, either out of old age or by being killed by a bullet. That is immaterial. The most important thing is to remember Krishna at the time of death, not how you died. So maybe he's praying for that. You never know what they were praying for, okay? And that is all that matters as to the mood or the motivation for what they are praying for, which I don't think you know what he was praying for. You can only see the external.
Thank you.
Okay. What? What? I couldn't hear you. Okay. So, yeah. So, but the here, okay, it all came from this discussion. The sinful action is coming out of anger, which is coming out of our attachment, our material attachment. Okay. And usually then that becomes sinful. Okay. Now one can say I'm attached to my country, and if somebody invades my country, I become angry and then I commit sinful action. Again, those are all borderline things. Or I am attached to living, so I have to eat and I have to boil water. Hello? Am I audible?
Haribol, Prabhuji, we had lost you for like maybe half a minute.
Okay, so I'm back.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, and the screen sharing is also there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, the electricity went away again, and I think their Wi-Fi router is connected to main electricity instead of a backup. So, okay, so I'm connected on my phone hotspot now. Okay, let's complete the chapter today. We have 10 minutes and just a few more verses. So where are we? Yeah. So unfulfilled desires lead to anger, which lead to sinful action. And we had a lot of discussion on the borderline cases, but please try to first address the big cases which are not borderline. That is the main message. Okay. So many of us commit sinful actions which are clearly black and white. I gave some very common examples, like in the office, taking advantage of other people, and so many things. We should stop doing those first, and then worry about uh, the borderline cases. Okay. Then the meaning of never satisfied, this one, one is never satisfied by material pursuits and layers. So desires are relentless. They are like layers. The example that is given in 38th verse is like there are layers and layers and layers. You like the example of a embryo is covered by the womb. So basically, the example is of a layer that you peel off one, you try to fulfill one desire, and you think that, okay, then I will be happy forever after. This is my last desire that I want to fulfill. You fulfill that only to see that there is another one. There is another one. There is another one. So it's like a infinite number of layers. And you can keep peeling all you want. They will never end. That is the main point of layers. And since the desires are infinite, some of them will always be unfulfilled. You cannot have every desire fulfilled. Nobody can have that. Even Indra, even the king of Swarga, let alone the Bill Gates and Elon Musks and whoever of the material world, even Indra cannot have all his desires fulfilled. There will always be unfulfilled desires, and it will lead to krodha, which will lead to papa. Okay, and therefore, if the solution is not to keep fulfilling desires, the solution is to give up material desires. And we will come to how to give up material desires in the next couple of verses. So before that, we will discuss the physical location of desires of this kama, the physical location of it, or where it starts. So the 40th verse. Indriya, mana, and buddhi, in that order. Indriyani, mano, buddhir. Asya adhishthanam uchyate. These are the adhishthan. Adhishthan means the seat or the foundation where it originates. Etair vimohayati esha jnanam avritya dehinam. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So senses. So how it happens, I have tried to put it in some bullets. The sense organs, the indriyas, our eyes, our taste, our ears, whatever, skin, gets the first experience of the sense object. Okay, just like Ajamil. You should read that story of Ajamil from 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was a very nice Brahmin, and he was walking in the forest, and he saw a lusty man and woman enjoying with each other. that one sight behind a tree, enjoying each other. So that one flash second view he got, just that one view corrupted his mind. So how can a split second view corrupt the mind or corrupt him? And then he became like, the whole downfall started from that one split second view. How? The eyes got the first experience, but more importantly, he allowed his mind to dwell on it. He made a whole movie out of it in his mind. From the one, that's why, all these billboards, they will have one static picture, and the whole idea is to capture your mind. You may see it while driving at 60 or 70 miles an hour. You see it for a split second, just like a jamil. But in your mind, you make a whole movie out of it. Your mind contemplates, dwells, enjoys on the sense object. And then intelligence, okay, then once you enjoy it sufficiently, then you say, I now want to enjoy the real thing. More enjoyment I want. So now, to give shape to those desires, the intelligence makes plans how I should actually obtain. This is very classic example. The Ajamil story mainly is about power of the holy name, but it also tells how he acted upon his desires. So intelligence makes all these plans. And then during that planning phase, as the intelligence is planning, one further, the mind is enjoying more and more. Yes, now I'm actually going to get it. Now I will actually relish it, and so on. So all these things cover the mind's real desire, which is to be with its best friend, which is Krishna. That's the real desire of the jiva or the atma, the jivatma. That's the original desire. That right now I am not experiencing that bliss of being with Krishna, and I want to experience it. But because of all these other desires, this desire becomes suppressed. Now, this desire is not of the soul. These desires are in the mind. But at the physical body level, those are the desires which our mind and intelligence cause our body to pursue. Mind and intelligence are also part of the body, and the pursuit is of those desires. Not, we even forget, not even just not pursue the original desire, but we become ignorant of the original desire at a bodily level. And that's all we spend the rest of our life pursuing. So the point is, what is the location of this kama? It is these three: indriya, senses, mind, mana, and buddhi, intelligence. So that is how the kama, that's where the kama sits. And the solution is very obvious: to cut off that exposure to sense objects as much as possible. Now, it was not Ajamil's fault that he was walking by and he saw that. Just like it is not your fault if you are driving on the highway and you see a billboard. Okay? So one should therefore, as much as possible, try to regulate the senses. And by spiritual practice, these exposures hurt the spiritual practice, and therefore one should make strong spiritual practice. That's one. Another thing I did not put in the slide is association of devotees. In the association of devotees, one can quickly or limit the damage. Just as a practical example, if you are on the driving on the highway and you happen to see a billboard, but you are sitting with a devotee, immediately you will start talking about some devotional topic, and that scene that you saw on the billboard will go out of your mind. Imagine if Ajamil was with another Brahmin walking in the forest, and then he saw whatever he saw. It is possible that that might have gone out of his mind quickly, but the problem was he was alone. So association matters a lot. And better still, developing a higher taste for the senses. Param drishtva nivartate. So we discussed this, developing a higher taste. So this takes gradual effort and time, but one should definitely strive to develop a higher taste for Krishna Bhakti. So the moment then we see these kind of sense gratification, objects of sense gratification, it won't attract us. It won't attract us at all, because our mind is fully absorbed in whatever else we are attracted to that is related to Krishna Bhakti. So we have to gradually develop that attraction. So one must strive very strongly to develop attraction to Krishna Bhakti, or some aspects, specific aspects of Krishna Bhakti, whether it is Kirtan or whatever else. Last two verses, I have framed it more as questions that who controls who? The same intelligence can be used to control the mind, or the mind can control the intelligence. So at this level, Lord Krishna is not bringing up the topic of association with other devotees, etc. That will come in later chapters. But right now, Lord Krishna is saying, just use your mind to use your intelligence to direct your mind. Is the intelligence the slave of the mind, or is intelligence the controller of the mind? The mind is the mana is the one which is the culprit. Give it a small incentive or a small catalyst. That's a better word. A small catalyst, like a small that Ajamil saw, what he saw through his senses was the catalyst. The mind will take over and take it from there. He will say, great, thank you very much. Now I will expand on it. And that is the problem. So the main damage is caused by the mind. And if the mind is in control of the sense of the intelligence, then it can be brought back to bhakti. So answer is, with intelligence, we should control the mind. The intelligence should not be under the control of the mind, where the mind is telling, hey, Mr. Intelligence, now go make all the plans for me to fulfill my sense gratification desires. Not then intelligence should tell the mind to shut up. And what is this intelligence? It is actually spiritual intelligence. And that spiritual intelligence is obtained from spiritual knowledge. So this is a very good segue into the next chapter, which is Jnana Yoga. That the way to strengthen spiritual intelligence or our intelligence is by making it spiritual. And the way to nurture that spiritual aspect of our intelligence is through spiritual knowledge. What kind of spiritual knowledge we are talking about? And for us, the Bhagavad Gita is talking, whenever it says spiritual, the end meaning is bhakti. So through bhakti gyan, through Krishna katha, through absorption in kirtan, shravan, etc. of the naam, roop, gun, leela, parikara. So through all these things, absorption in all these activities of bhakti, one nourishes one's spiritual intelligence, which strengthens our ability to curb the mind, to control the mind. Okay. So that is the last slide for today. And that is the conclusion of this chapter. Okay, yes, Raj Vidya Prabhu, question.
Prabhuji, just a very simple question. Parikara, what does it mean, parikara? The last line.
Parikara, yeah, sorry, I didn't mention. So, Nama, Roop, Gun, Leela, everybody understands. So, this is Shravan and Kirtan I am talking about. Hearing and speaking about Krishna's name, Nam, Roop, form, Guna, qualities or activities that show certain, highlight certain qualities. Leela means all the pastimes and activities. And Parikar means associates. So, not just of Krishna, but of Krishna's devotees as well. Same things, Nam, Roop, Gun, Leela of Krishna's devotees as well. Okay. So basically, hearing and speaking about Krishna and his devotees. That's what you can understand. Parikar. Parikar means associates. And associates of Krishna are always devotees only, not anybody else. There is a lot to be learned. I personally find the stories of devotees more inspiring than stories of Krishna. Because Krishna is Bhagwan. So it's like, okay, he can do anything. But stories of his devotees are more closer to heart because how they are deeply absorbed in love of Krishna is very important to read and understand, because that is where we find ourselves in those stories, or we find the gap in our life and their life. They faced so much misery, but yet they remained such sweet devotees. And we get agitated and disturbed when little misery arrives. And that's the gap. And from that, we get inspired and try to make progress. So that is the importance of hearing about the devotees of the Lord. Did that help?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, yes, thank you. One quick question. So is there a source or a recommended book that you have where we get the, I am reading Leela but other than Leela do we have any other book where we get stories of devotees?
So, yeah, Leela is a great example. It's about centered around one great devotee of Krishna, which is Srila Prabhupada, and then through that, many other devotees as well of the modern age. There are so many. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will find so many stories of, and Srimad Bhagavatam is less about Bhagavan, it's more about devotees. Actually, if you see any pastime, you pick up any pastime of Bhagavatam right now, there will be no pastime which is not centered. The center point, the main hero is a devotee. Okay, in Vishnu Puran, in Padma Puran, the hero is Bhagwan. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, the hero will always be a devotee. Pick any pastime. Prahlad, Bharat Maharaj, Vritrasur. We can go canto by canto. Narad Muni, Parikshit Maharaj, Bhishma Pitamaha, Kunti, Devahuti, Vidurji, Maitreya, the Bharat Maharaj, Ajamila. Huh?
Amrish Maharaj is one.
Yeah, I was coming to 9th canto. We were on 6th. Ajamil, Vritrasur, Chitraketu, Prahlad Maharaj, 8th canto, Bali Maharaj, then comes Ambarish Maharaj and so on. Okay. So all full of devotees. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita has so many stories of devotees. Then there is a very special book of just devotees of the Lord known as Bhaktamal. It's available in English. There are multiple editions of it. You should check which one to get. Bhaktamal has a lot of stories about devotees of Krishna. So yeah, this will keep you occupied for a few years at least.
Sure, it will. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, anything else? Okay, audio and video is still going good?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay, all right. Okay, we will stop here and we will start chapter 4 next time. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.